Hello and welcome to the BCN live event on AI productivity. My name is Peter Phillips and I'll be your host. Before I introduce you to the panel, I'm going to quickly run through today's agenda. We'll do an introduction of the panel. We'll review the BCN AI journey. We'll have a look at the new Copilot Chat and we'll demo that for you. We'll also have a look at Microsoft 365 Copilot, the Power Platform, Azure AI Studio, and then we'll finish off with some questions and answers. So, without further ado, let's introduce ourselves. Why don't we start with you, Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So, I'm Mark Rotherham. I'm BCN's Chief Technology Officer.
Hi, I'm Tom Ferber, a Senior Product Manager here at BCN.
Johan Venables, Modern Workplace Consultant.
And Andy James. My team builds solutions in SharePoint and Power Platform.
Excellent, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here today. So I think we're going to start with you, Mark, and why don't you run us through the BCN AI journey?
Sounds good. So we're going to use the whiteboard for that, so I'll get cracking.
Thank you so much.
Right, so now we're going to look at the AI journey, and I'm going to break it down using a bit of a chart and just explain as I go. So we're going to start off with two axes, and on the left we're going to have disruption. And at the bottom we're going to have something fun, innovation. And what I'm going to do is use this chart to plot out how you can use AI and plot out a journey that makes sense for your business. And we're going to be showing a bunch of demos based on all of these different steps as we go through today. So we're going to start off with right at the beginning, number one. So this is the easiest place to start your AI journey. And this is by using a free AI. You can use things like OpenAI, ChatGPT, websites like that. But what we like to do is look at the free version of Copilot that you get with your Microsoft license. And what that does is give you a really safe place to start playing around with AI, learning what prompts are, and basically having a go within your business without actually having to worry about things like data leakage or anything like that. So it's a safe, secure place for you and all of your staff to interact with an AI, ask questions, you can paste text in, you can get answers, you can do all kinds of really nice things in a safe way. But the key thing here is it's limited to kind of one data plane, and that is what you paste into it and information from the internet. So it's safe, it's free, it's going to give you information based on, again, what you paste in, but also it's been trained on the internet. So if you ask it about logs from a router or things from a book or anything like that, it's going to have that information. But what it's not going to do is have any information about your business, about what's happening within your ecosystem or anything like that. So that's where we start, and it's a really good place to begin your AI journey. Now, as we go up, go to number two. And this is where you can actually pay for an AI. So in this case, what we're saying is we're not using something that's untrained on your business. We're going to pay for something that actually knows a little bit about your business ecosystem. It's going to know who you are. It's going to know who you share information with. And it's actually going to have a bit more context around your business. Now, this is going to be the 365 Copilot that you can buy from Microsoft. And that's a really great way of getting into AI at the next level. So like I say, it does know who you are, it knows who you work for, it knows all of your kind of business information based on Microsoft Graph. What it also does is have access to all of your emails, all of your messages, your meetings, anything that's happening in SharePoint. So effectively, this is taking information from your 365 tenant, and basically giving you access to have an AI baked into 365 that has all that information. Now in there are a load of really great use cases. things from as simple as giving the summary of a Teams meeting, to summarising chats, to creating Word documents, and to even creating PowerPoint files and things like that. And Johan's going to be showing a little bit of the features in this 365 Copilot in a short while. Now, key thing here is you're paying for a license, you're paying for capability. So effectively what you get out of the box is what it can do. You can extend it, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the next stage now. So stage 3. Now, this is where we're going one step beyond just paying for a license. We're actually looking at how we can make AI work in our business context. So with the 365 Copilot, effectively you get use cases that Microsoft have thought up and have given you to go and use. When we get to this stage, what we're saying is, let's look at business processes within your ecosystem and think about how we can apply AI to those. So it's a subtle shift further into embedding AI into your ecosystem. And in this case, what we're looking at is data that's available only to you and that's relevant to your business beyond what's in 365. So in this case, it's going to be business data. And that's going to come from not just 365, but it can also come from databases, from Azure files, from anywhere in your ecosystem. And I'm just going to draw up number 4 here as well, because this is kind of where we take the kind of next step forward from what we've talked about with 3 is all around business process. With the next step around 4, it's all around business transformation. So underneath here, I'm just going to kind of write the kind of main themes that go along this journey. So with number 1, it's really just having a go with AI and dipping your toe in the water. Number 2 here with the 365 Copilot, it's all focused on productivity. So 365 focused on productivity. Third one along is going to be all around business process. And the last one, number 4, is going to be around business transformation. So the key thing with 3 and 4 is they are both using this business data. But the main shift is going to be 3, we're looking at how we can use things like the Power Ecosystem, Copilot Studio, Power Apps, Power Automate, and bake AI into them to make your business processes more efficient. It could be anything as small as a simple bit of AI that's baked into an existing process, or reimagining a process from the ground up with AI at its center. But when we get to level 4 around business transformation, this is really taking a step back, looking at how your business operates and thinking about how can I make use of this new capability in AI and actually transform the way that the business does business, how it works, how it operates, and how it uses data in a different way. So this is the kind of high-level journey that we're going to go through with you today. We're going to take you through a few demos of each one. And just to kind of finish off, I'm just going to overlay a little bit around the approaches that we take as we go through these. So for the left-hand side here, we're talking about no code. What this means is to use your free Copilot, you don't have to do anything, it's turned on automatically unless you turn it off in your tenant. And to use your 365 Copilot, again, it's a license. As soon as the license is on, it's going to be available as soon as it's trained up. So they're really easy ways of getting in there with effectively having no license or a simple license outlay. As we go between 365 and into this business process level, what we talk about here is more low code. And what we can do with low code is use the Power Ecosystem, Copilot Studio, to either extend 365 Copilot to make it even bigger and more robust and integrate into your ecosystem, or we can create discrete low code applications that do your business processes with AI built in. And as we get further to the right hand side, we start to talk about it as pro code. And what this means here is we're making a subtle shift into data science and full stack development to kind of bring these business transformations to life. So it's a combination of maybe a full stack developer that's actually writing some coding, data scientist that's training a model, and bringing those together in Azure OpenAI to actually come up with these transformative applications that can really drive your business to the next level. So there isn't a set way through this journey. We have people that want to start at 4 and actually look at business transformation to start off with. Some people think that actually the 365 Copilot is the sweet spot for them because they've got a lot of people doing Teams meetings as an example, and it's a great way of getting that productivity boost. And again, we have some that want to jump straight into, I've got a business process that I just want to bake AI into. So there's not a wrong way of going through this journey, but if we're going to start somewhere, start with using the free one. Get familiar with what AI can do, understand what prompts are and how to use them, and then you can start to put a vision in place as to where you should be going next on your journey based on maturity, the needs of use cases, where your data is, all those things that will help us build out the rest of that story. So now I'm going to hand back to the studio and we're going to go through some of the demos and use cases.
Thanks, Mark, for articulating the AI journey for us.
Yeah, no, it's really good to see the theory, but now for the fun bit. So we're going to start off with Johan, who's going to take us through the first couple of steps of that journey and start showing practical uses of AI.
Fantastic.
Okay, so in this demo, we're going to cover off Microsoft 365 Chat. There's 2 parts of it. In this demo session, we will talk about the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, which is free and available for personal use as well as business. And then we'll cover off the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat with a paid subscription. And we'll just sort of delve in between the two and just to give you a good use case scenario between the 2 products.
I have signed in with my Microsoft 365 credentials, and you will notice that once you've signed in, there's a green shield that will appear, which means any information I add to my prompts will be protected and will not be used by Microsoft to train their OpenAI. On the left-hand side of the page, you have 2 options. Web, which means Copilot will only search the internet for information and not use your company data. If you have a Microsoft Copilot license, you will have the options to switch it over to work. And that means Copilot will search your data and web content. Now, just to be very clear, Microsoft 365 Chat is free and available for personal use and businesses. If you want the work experience where Copilot will look at your company data, which can be anything like emails, chats in Teams, or your data in SharePoint and OneDrive, you will need to purchase a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. Let's start with our first prompt, and I'm going to demo a real case scenario where one of our clients wants to migrate to Microsoft SharePoint. They currently use a file server called Ignite, and I need to find a migration tool that will help them move their data into SharePoint. As you can see, it's listed a few options, and it has summarized some of the key features, which is really useful. I'm going to ask it to show me user reviews to get a better understanding of what worked well and what to look out for, or if it's a good or bad product. And within seconds, you can see it summarized it and provided me with the user reviews, which is really, really useful. Great. The next step is to understand the licensing costs. Let's see what Copilot can do. Great. Now we have a list of tools that can help with the migration. I understand its capabilities and licensing cost. Next, I will ask Copilot to draft an email for our products and services team to review. This is great and honestly a game changer. It would have taken me a lot more time searching for products online, making notes of their use cases, and reading through user reviews. Now let's extend our Copilot experience and switch it over to work. We are all very busy, and sometimes we do not have the bandwidth to plan and prepare our work. Let's get Copilot to help. I'm going to ask Copilot to list all the emails I need to respond to, and to create a priority list. What Copilot will do is look out for emails marked as urgent, or where my name has been mentioned within an email, and it will then list those as top priorities. I'm going to ask Copilot to generate a response for every email, which I can easily copy and paste into Outlook. Copilot drafted an email on my behalf, acknowledging that I have seen the email. I will look into it and get back to them with an update. Now, I need to prepare for my meetings. I am asking Copilot to summarize all the meetings I have for next week. Copilot will look at my schedule in my Outlook calendar. It will include the people I'll be meeting with, the date, the time, and agenda. Next, I want to know how many hours will be spent attending these meetings. Let's see what it does. Awesome. This is helpful. I can see that next week I'll have less meetings than usual. So now I can really focus on getting work done and use the available time to get back to the people I need to respond to. Finally, I'm going to ask Copilot to draft an email to my manager explaining what I have planned for next week. Copilot will take all of the above information and provide my manager with a clear update on what I'll be working on. This is great. We used to have a weekly hour catch-up call with our manager to discuss our schedules and current projects. By adopting a new approach, we no longer need these weekly meetings, saving me up to 8 hours each month. Additionally, using Copilot has saved me an extra 2 to 3 hours on task preparation and planning.
We hope this demo was useful. Again, go and have a play, test it out, get some ideas flowing, work with your staff to sort of see how you could use this within your business. And again, we are there to help and support you with this change.
Thanks, Jan, for the great demo. I think it's fair to say it's super exciting to see what businesses can do with AI out of the box, so to speak. We've got some questions, though. I mean, why would businesses choose to use the Copilot Chat versus ChatGPT?
Sure, Pete. So look, when ChatGPT was released, it was a game changer. I mean, over 100 million users subscribed to the service within 2 months, and I was one of those early adopters. It helped me, write emails. It helped me create content, and my first language is Afrikaans, and my writing skills in English is not that great. But I use ChatGPT to help and support me with that, which is amazing. And then Microsoft went and bought a copy of that AI, OpenAI, and turned it into their own. Now, the great thing and the difference between the two is that the Microsoft Copilot Chat gives you the most up-to-date content when you search for information. And it protects your information and the data that you add into your prompts. Where with ChatGPT, it's been used, whatever information you add, it's been used to actually train their large language models, which is why I've showed in my demo to ensure, to tell people, when you use Microsoft Copilot Chat, sign in with your account, make sure you've got that green shield. That means your data is protected, and any information you add into it does not get used to train large language models.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that's one of the biggest concerns we've seen with most businesses these days is data security and how protected it is the minute they start using AI. And then I guess, would you consider this a good starting point for businesses to start their journey with AI?
Absolutely. We would encourage our clients to start using Copilot 365 Chat. It's free. Make sure you sign in with your account, obviously, to make sure it's secure. But it's a good starting point to start showing staff its use case and getting them familiar with prompt engineering. Prompt is a key thing to get the information you need. You need to put a bit of thought into it. It's not just a case of putting a one-liner in there saying, this is what I want, and expecting a lot from it. You need to put some thought process into your prompts to make sure you get the information you need. And then slowly but surely, people will start seeing the value of it. And then that's when you can then take them into that next journey, into the Microsoft 365 Copilot, your personal assistant, because they're thriving within the free version of Microsoft 365 Copilot. And once they get their hands on, with Copilot that's embedded into your productivity apps, they'll just thrive and immediately onboard that and adopt quite quickly with that service.
Fantastic. And that brings us into really the next step, so to speak, on that journey, which is looking at Copilot 365, which you're kindly going to demo for us as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. So in this demo, I'm going to cover off Microsoft Copilot 365, which is embedded into your productivity tools. I'm going to walk you through the sort of real use case scenarios. We're going to cover off Microsoft Forms. We're going to have a look at Microsoft Word. We're going to explore the possibilities in Microsoft Loop, as well as show you how we can easily create presentations.
My role as a consultant involves collaborating closely with my clients to understand their technology challenges and to support the digital transformation journey, as well as assisting staff with adoption. One efficient way to gain insights is by sending a feedback form to staff to better understand the challenges they have. However, crafting the right questions can be quite time-consuming. Let's leverage Copilot for assistance. I will ask Copilot to create a staff feedback form using Microsoft Forms. Within seconds, we have a form ready, and all I need to do is review the questions, make necessary changes, although it looks pretty good to me, and I'm happy to just share this with the team. This is the great thing about Copilot in Forms. If you're not sure what questions you need to ask, and it doesn't just have to be a staff feedback form, it could be anything, it could be something for your clients. Maybe it's a product, you want to get some feedback about a product that you've recently sold, or a service, and you want to get some better insights. Just explain that to Copilot and it will go and create a very, very good feedback form. We have received feedback from our client staff, and it seems the biggest issue they face is user onboarding and offboarding. This is a typical case for any business. We have a project to tackle, so let's get started in Microsoft Loop. In Loop, I'll ask Copilot to create a project plan to keep track of our task, along with a space to share meeting notes so my team and I can stay fully aware of our progress. Amazing. And there we go. We've got a loop to record all the meeting notes, keep track of our progress, and I can now share this with my team. In Outlook, I've asked Copilot to draft an email explaining to the team what I need from them and what we'll try to achieve. Within seconds, we have a draft. It doesn't sound like me, so I'll make some changes. I've selected a casual tone, and now it matches my writing style. Let's include our loop URL in the email. Awesome. Everything looks good, and it's ready to send to the team. I have very little experience with onboarding and offboarding staff, since this is usually HR's responsibility. However, they don't have access to Copilot, so let's see if I can assist and help make their lives easier. In Word, I'll ask Copilot to help draft a document explaining the importance of onboarding and offboarding staff. Additionally, I'll create a table outlining responsibilities to ensure it's clear who is responsible for what. This is incredible. Within seconds, I've helped create a baseline for HR to work from. Now they can use their own experience and knowledge to further improve the document. Great. HR reviewed the document and added more content to it. Now to present this to the board. In PowerPoint, we have shared the link to the document, and I will ask Copilot to convert it into a presentation. Now, this can take some time depending on how many pages you have in your Word document, but generally it's pretty quick. And there we go. We have a presentation, not perfect, but again, we have our first draft, and now we just need to spend a bit of time making it look more presentable.
As you can see, there's some powerful stuff, and there's a lot you can achieve within the business and save a lot of time doing these sort of repetitive tasks, but as well as creating new content. Creating that sort of baseline to start off with is really valuable, and we encourage you to go and give it a try. Go and explore, work with your team again, understand the use cases for your business, document it, work on your prompts, and encourage staff to get the most out of this platform.
Thanks, Johan, for that demo on Copilot 365. I think it's fair to say it's going to revolutionize, and it already is revolutionizing the way in which people work and boosting productivity. I guess one question for you, you've obviously been dabbling with it since its release in January of this year. One question, would you give it up?
Well, putting me on the spot there, but would you give up Teams? As an example, a couple of years ago, we used emails, and we used Outlook to arrange meetings, and we did face-to-face meetings. That means a lot of traveling. Having to organize an event to get together, can be quite time-consuming. And now we've got Teams, so we can have meetings anywhere from any device, and we don't have to travel. So that's really reduced the time we spent in the past, arranging and attending meetings. So that's boost productivity. You saved more time to do more. And that's the same principle with AI. If you embrace that full productivity stack and you incorporate AI into it, you get a supercharged boosting experience. So you're saving a lot more time, within that workspace. And it's part of our lives. It's embedded into our everyday work life. We are dependent on the productivity tools. And now with AI incorporated with it, it just takes it to another level. So for me, if I let go of AI, which I hope won't happen, you probably need to hire another consultant.
No, fair to say. And I think just you were recently, Mark, with Rick in Seattle at the Microsoft Partner AI event. What was some of the challenges Microsoft highlighted in terms of what they've seen with the release of their AI products?
Yes, I think the one of the challenges they've got is adoption. Yeah, so we've got this absolutely amazing capability, and it's got some great use cases, but matching the capability and the use cases up to the right people is the challenge. So one of the most common mistakes we're seeing is a customer gets really excited, the IT team get a Copilot license and they have a play around with it, and they don't really see a really solid use case for them. And that's because it's targeted at productivity workers, not IT people. Yeah, so we all have it and we do a lot of meetings, which is great, but really it's focused on people that have got repetitive type tasks or things where it's really going to hit the sweet spot. So I think what we're trying to do now is find the right use cases with the right people, with the right AI. So once we join those three things up, and Copilot fits into that nicely for the right use cases. So Microsoft's biggest challenge has been getting that education out there, getting it out of the IT teams into the productivity workers' hands. And I think, once you do nail that use case, it's amazing. You look at your hand, you love it. And we've got Tom coming up in a bit, and he gave me one of the best anecdotes, and I use it all the time. So Tom does a lot of round tables with customers, and we gave him a Copilot license, and he said for the first time ever, he's been able to just be solely concentrated on the customer in that Teams meeting, in that workshop. He didn't have to take notes, didn't have to worry, because Copilot had his back. At the end of the meeting, he got all the notes, everything that was discussed, all captured. He could have a conversation with it. And it was just that little nugget of having the ability to be 100% present in a meeting is something we've probably not been able to do for a long time if you're hosting the meeting. So again, finding that little sweet spot is amazing. Yeah, and that's not the IT manager. It's someone that's got a productivity role that's actually going to really value it. And that's the trick. That's where we've got to get to.
And I guess that's really where our Copilot readiness assessments and the AI Kickstarters come in, where we can sit down with businesses, review the way in which they operate, understand the way in which the teams work, what their roles are, and where AI can bring value to it.
Absolutely. It's all around, yes, we've got 4 different parts of this journey that we're going through today. Finding the right AI for the right use case is the key bit. It might be a Power App, it might be a really clever pro code application, or it might be just a Copilot 365 license, or a blend of them all. Yeah, but the trick is finding that use case and getting the right AI into the right person's hands.
Absolutely. And also finding the right staff, because the thing is, you're not aware of what your staff is doing within the productivity tools, who's really thriving within that environment and heavily using it. We can help you identify that. So we'll look at our client's environment, their tenant, the usage reports, adoption report, and we'll look at those as really thriving. And they are the ones we want to, enable with AI so that they can actually reduce the time they spend, in order to do more.
Yeah. And well, we know that from not only AI, but all technologies and services we bring into businesses, adoption is what guarantees a return on the investment and drives the ultimate success of that project. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I think without further ado, let's hand over to Andy. He's going to give us some insights into the Power Platform and how AI is changing that.
Awesome. Well, we've had a great look at Copilot in a number of different guises that has access to everything that you have access to. Sometimes, though, the business needs means that the AI should only have specific access to specific information. And that's where the Power Platform and AI Builder can come in. We can feed it specific information, we can restrict the access it has to your business information, and we can get targeted bespoke responses back. And it's a really accessible first step into that journey of AI. So we're going to have a look now at an application that is a Power App that uses Power Automate with AI Builder in to do just that. Look at some specific data sets and generate some great answers.
And here is the application. This application is designed to help us with our tender responses when we're bidding for new work and helping us in generating and coming up with the answers to those questions. These questions are generally the more conceptual ones around business processes, policies, methodologies, things that are kind of a bit more longer standing. But if we have a look at one of the tenders that we've got going on at the moment, we can see what's going on. In fact, let's take this one that it's got an answer pending. Or two of them, in fact, now, which is great. So if we were to ask a new question, and then we can have a look at these new ones while our next one is going through the process, but we could ask it something like, how do you ensure that your staff are fully trained? And that question then goes off in the automation, and it'll be back with us shortly. We can see at the moment it's thinking about it. So what's going on and what's happened with these previous two? Well, the first thing that happens is the AI takes our question and it categorizes it. So in response to what is our methodology for project management, funnily enough, that's been categorized as a project management type question. And recruitment of staff has come back as HR, which again kind of makes sense. With those categories, the AI then looks, in this case, it would look at all our previous HR answers, and it would use those answers to generate a brand new response to this question in how we find and recruit staff. So if we have a look, we can see that we have two responses. This is based on our previous information, and this one is not. This is more generic. It's the type of answer you'd get from ChatGTP or something that has no business context to write its answer in. Where with this, we've got around initial CV screening, we do telephone interviews, first stage competency-based interviews, we do Thrive psychometric assessments. This is the process that we go through, or that ProdSol does. And again, it has mention of ProdSol Academy, which is an internal training platform that we use. So I'm going to select this answer, but actually I don't need to talk about ProdSol in the ProdSol Academy in this answer. I'm going to save that for later. So although the AI has generated this, I can still edit it and adapt it. I can expand it as much as I need to, and I'm happy that that's now the answer that I want to go with. So having a look at this answer, we can see we've got reference information the AI has picked out of our previous answers. So again, great to have that context. So if we approve this, and then we'll jump back to the previous screen. Within the application, we also now have this chatbot that we put together. And with this chatbot, when I was telling it or instructing it around its knowledge bases, I gave it access to all of the Dataverse tables used in this solution, and I gave it a really clear description of what each of the tables was for, how they relate to the overall solution and the information in general, what the columns were for, and tried to explain to the chatbot where the data lived and how it was structured in the same way that I would have done to a new member of staff. And with that, we should be able to ask it questions in a more natural manner to get us some information. So if I ask, how many tenders is Fraser Deer the lead on? It should know that in asking how many, I'm expecting a number. It should know that I'm asking about tenders, so look at the tender table. It should know that I'm asking about the lead, so it should look at the lead column and then count Fraser in that lead column, and there we go. We've got our 3 tenders back that Fraser is leading on, which is fantastic. So now we're in that conversation, I should be able to ask it a bit more, such as what is the square footage of those tenders? So in my tender table, I have a column for the square footage. How big is this project? And now it knows that I'm just looking at those 3 tenders. There we go. We have Solar Plus with 1,800, Fraser's Lasers with 4,000 square foot, and White Hart Holders with 70,000 square foot. So a lot of work going on there. But we can start to interact because it also has access to all of our question and answer data. We would also be able to ask it questions that we would within the tender. So lots and lots of opportunities with these chatbots.
Fantastic. So I hope that answers some questions on how we can integrate really simple chatbots and some really low-code AI applications within Power Apps themselves and within Power Automate processes.
Andy, thanks so much for that demo. I think it's given us great insight into the Power Platform and the art of the possible. Now, there's so many options for AI. How do you know where to start?
Well, that's a massive question, like the origins of the universe. But like you say, there are different options and they've all got their own different use cases. And it generally comes down to things like, how do you want to interact with the information? What is it you need the AI to do for you? Are we generating content? Or are we asking it questions? Are we looking for trends? Even now with images, are we generating updating images? So depending on the use case you need in the business process will be kind of the first thing. Like we saw with the chatbots, if you've got a specific data set you want to interrogate, a chatbot's a really nice, easy way to ask questions. But where with the app, you could ask it a question, but you could get more context and you could generate things, all that information we could put into documents or publish wherever we need to and share as wide as required. So the use case, the process is going to be a major factor in deciding which way to go. In terms of the criteria around the Power Platform, with Copilot, like we saw with Johan, Copilot has access to absolutely everything. You kind of switch it on, you've got your access, and it does the best that it can with all of that information that it can gather. With the Power Platform and AI Builder and the such, we can tailor the information a little bit more. So it's that middle ground between access to everything and kind of really restrictive. So again, that's going to come down to use case and what you want to do with it. And in that way, it kind of lends itself, or it's a bit closer to what we can do in Azure AI Studio, where again, we've got tailored data sets. The difference between the two of them is that with the Power Platform, it's a lot more low code. So it's a nice, easy place to start. It's a good place to, kind of kickstart the business, have a play, have a test, see what we can do. The power of the AI Builder is incredible. So it can definitely scale, but we're going to get to a point where we may then want to move into Azure OpenAI. But again, with the Power Platform being part of the Microsoft platform, it integrates with everything. So if we do have an app and an automation and everything already built, well, we can just swap the brain out and put in some of the Azure services in place. So it's a really big question where to start and which bit to use. So it's going to depend really on how accessible you want it to be and how you want to interact with that information.
That's great. Thanks, Andy. Now, we've got a few players in the space. So I guess the question mark is, why use Microsoft?
Yeah, so I think there's a few really good reasons why you would stick to Microsoft for this ecosystem. First one is it's a place where you already are. You've already got a 365 license, you've already got your email there, you've got your data in SharePoint. So extending that into the Power Platform is really easy. You're already effectively in the Power Platform. You've just got to turn it on, configure it. So that's one really compelling reason is it's just so accessible. But the other reason is security. You don't have another platform to manage. You don't have to worry about data going out of your ecosystem. You've got the security boundaries that you control. Microsoft are one of the biggest security companies in the world, and that wraps around everything we do there. And I guess the last reason is they are ahead of the game. You know, they've made some very wise investments in OpenAI, and they're making all those investments accessible very quickly through the Power Platform, almost as soon as they're available to the public. So you get a lot of compelling reasons why to do it, and not many players out there that can offer that kind of same security wrap capability at any sort of entry point.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Next, we've got Tom joining us, sharing his thoughts and insights in terms of what we're doing in the healthcare sector. Stay tuned for that.
Okay, so in this next section, I wanted to share with you a little bit about our journey in the BCN healthcare team and how we're using Azure AI Studio in a pro-code environment to create some new innovative solutions for our customers. So before we dive into that, it's worth me starting by saying that our mission in the BCN healthcare team is to help healthcare organisations improve patient care. Now, we do that by creating software tools that help organisations understand their latest performance and empower decision makers with the data they need. Because of that, today the majority of our users are the performance teams that sit within healthcare organisations. Now, we talk to our users almost every day, and the most common problem or challenge that we hear over and over again is that so much time gets spent on reporting performance that there's little time left to focus on actually improving performance. Now, it's not uncommon for a healthcare organisation to employ a team of really experienced healthcare analysts who spend the majority of their time producing the various reports the organisation needs to produce to fulfil its reporting obligations, meaning that there's little or no time left at the end of the day to do the important analytical work in terms of helping the organisation improve patient care. Now, our Public View product was born out of that very frustration around 5 years ago. So Public View at its core is a benchmarking tool that provides healthcare organisations with a holistic view across their performance data. Now, before Public View, performance teams would have to visit well over 100 different NHS websites on a regular basis to find the latest data that they needed to report on. Now, Public View lifts that burden by connecting to those different websites, automatically detecting when new data is made available and pulling that in and organising it in our own SQL database. That data is then presented in a simple user interface so healthcare organisations can quickly see how they're performing across a wide range of key performance indicators. And that data can also be plugged straight into the organisation's various reports, thereby rapidly reducing the time it takes to both monitor and report on performance. Now, over the last 5 years, the Public View database has amassed a huge amount of performance data, combining several thousand indicators. Now, having all that data in a single, well-structured database presented a huge opportunity for us to think about how we could use the latest generative AI technology to solve our customers' biggest reporting challenges of today. So as part of this innovation discovery, we've layered on Azure AI Studio, which contains the same large language model that's used to power ChatGPT, on top of the Public View database. And in doing so, we've created 2 new proof of concepts on how generative AI can be used to free up even more time that's spent on day-to-day reporting. So the first proof of concept is the Public View chatbot. Now, the use case here is all about making performance data even more accessible, so users can get the information they need when they need it. Now, a good example to use here would be an NHS chief executive. So NHS chief execs can quite often get asked unexpected questions about an area of their hospital's performance. That could be in a board meeting, it could be in a passing corridor from a non-exec director, it could be from a journalist in regards to a story in the national press. Now, the average chief executive could be responsible for hundreds, if not thousands, of different indicators. So it's possible and perhaps unlikely that they'll know the answer right there off the top of their head. Now today, yes, they could log into the Public View portal and search for the indicator and find the latest value. But most of the time they won't do that, and that's because they don't just need to know the latest value, but the important context around it, so they can answer follow-up questions and have a conversation with whoever's asked them the question. So instead what they'll do is they'll typically message their director of performance to ask them the question instead. So here's where the Public View chatbot comes in. So instead of having to message their director of performance, wait for it to be read and then receive a reply, they can ask the chatbot instead. Within a few seconds, they'll get a response in plain English, and just like you'd expect from a diligent director of performance, that'll contain not just the answer, but important context around the latest performance, such as how it might compare to national standards. That chief exec can then ask follow-up questions as well. So how do we compare to national averages or even to the hospital down the road? So the main benefits here, so for the chief exec or the user, they can get instant answers to the questions that they need. For them, it's like having their director of performance right there in their pocket with them, which is great news also for the director of performance because it's saving them time that they would otherwise be spending answering ad hoc questions from their colleagues. The second proof of concept is the public view report generator. Now, the use case here is all about helping healthcare organisations streamline their routine reporting processes. So, for example, we already know performance teams spend an awful lot of time producing various reports that they need to produce on a regular, recurring basis. That can include board reports, performance review reports, committee reports, the list goes on and on. Now, that process today normally involves an analyst or a team of analysts pulling together all the different bits of information, inserting it into the various report template, and then actually reviewing each metric and providing a short piece of narrative describing the latest performance in each area. Now, the average board report can contain up to 80 metrics. So if we're conservative and say that reviewing each one might take just 5 minutes to review and write that short piece of narrative, that's already over 6.5 hours of analyst time spent per report creating that first piece of narrative. Now, with the public view report generator, that same analyst can produce a report within a few seconds. That report will contain a snapshot of the organisation's performance at that point across all of their KPIs. The report starts with a top-level summary describing highlighting areas where the organisation is doing well and improving, but also identifying any areas of concern where performance might be slipping and need attention. Below that, the report provides an indicator-by-indicator breakdown of the very latest performance with a short written narrative that includes details about how performance compares to targets and national averages, any important information about trends, and other further context that might be useful. So, for example, in the case of A&E, it may be that there was a significant increase in attendances that month, which may have explained the pressure on AE wait times. That written narrative can then simply be pasted into any reports and sent round to other stakeholders in the organisation to edit and add any local context. But what you can see here is that the AI has done that heavy lifting by creating that first draft of the narrative and saving that analyst time from 6.5 hours to just a few minutes. So where next? So although we've made some really great progress already in using Azure AI Studio to help save performance teams even more time, we've still got a lot of work to do here. And at this stage, we really know we're only just scratching the surface about what's possible. So simply by being able to demonstrate the art of the possible with these early proof of concepts to our customers has meant that we can have a deeper level of conversation with them about their biggest reporting challenges of today and how this emerging technology can be used to solve problems that just simply hasn't been possible before. So, for example, we're now talking with our customers about how AI can be used to discover new insights, such as being able to identify the relationships in the data, to understand which underlying processes drive top-level performance, being able to compare organisations with similar activity levels to be able to learn from organisations in areas of good practice, and being able to predict and prevent future performance issues. So rather than simply looking backwards in time, being able to look forwards and take action and preventing problems before they occur. So coupling these new level of insights with the tools that make the data more accessible, we believe presents a huge opportunity for us to help our healthcare customers gain a much deeper understanding into their performance and take action that can help them improve patient care. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea about the journey we're on in the BCN healthcare team and some examples of what's possible in terms of using Azure AI Studio in a pro-code environment to solve real business challenges and create value for your customers too.
Tom, thanks for that great demo. It's super insightful and fantastic to see the value that we bring into the National Health Service. I guess what would be good to understand is what were some of the biggest challenges you and the team faced in this project?
Yeah, sure. So I'd say the biggest challenge or number one risk that we identified right at the beginning of starting this project was about the need for the accuracy of the data. Okay, so large language models, by design, they exist to provide an answer. That's their goal, and they'll do that no matter what. They'll provide an answer, and sometimes even if that answer is not necessarily completely correct. I'm sure you've got experience yourself playing around with ChatGPT and seeing how it has a potential to hallucinate. These models aren't particularly great at saying, by default at least, by saying, sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. Now, obviously, in a healthcare situation, that's of paramount importance. You know, the accuracy is absolutely essential. There's no margin for error here. Yes, we're not necessarily talking about clinical systems at this stage, but decisions do get made that affect patient care based on the data that we're providing. So yeah, the need for accuracy is something that we called out right at the beginning and have taken really proactive steps to make sure we're addressing.
Great, yeah. Mark, any further thoughts from you on this?
Yeah, I think what I do with this is look at it from a different perspective. So what Tom's shown is a really great application of large language generative AI against a structured data set. But if I look at it from a different perspective, what we've effectively done as BCN is taken a bit of our IP. So we own the public view data set and public view, and we've looked at how we could get more value out of that data by adding generative AI to it. So the main takeaway for me is, what data sets do our customers have that they would call IP? It could be structured, unstructured data, so files or databases or anything like that. And think about how we could apply this generative AI capability to get more benefits and value out of that data set. So using the same kind of approaches, but really putting a customer first lens on it that says, right, we've got this IP, every customer is going to have something. How do we augment that and really put a transformation around that data set or the capabilities to add that value to it? So that for me is the really great example we've shown here. Not only just a really powerful thing for healthcare in the UK, but an example of how you can take IP and wrap it with generative AI to add more value.
Yeah, so true. Well, I think that brings us almost to a close. I think we're going to head back, meet with the rest of the panel and cover off some further questions and then take it from there. Thank you. Thank you guys for showcasing the technology. I think it's fair to say some really game-changing innovation coming our way and is already here. I think, Mark, it would be good to get your thoughts on the sort of AI journey and where it's going.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing for me is the rate of change that we've seen over the last few years that has really enabled all this transformation to kind of be in everyone's hands now. So I think the word accessibility of AI is really exciting for me. We've reached a point where AI is really relevant and can be used practically across all of our customers, whether that's a really small bit of AI, just eking into a bit of business process, or something more transformative. So I think I'd say, get on the journey now. Start while you can with something small, but always keep an eye on what's coming out, because what was available today is different to what was available yesterday. And those problems that we've found very hard to solve in the past, we can really start motoring in on now, and things are possible now that weren't previously. So for me, it's really exciting. We can do a lot more than we could a year ago, that we could do 2 years ago. This time next year we'll be doing even more. But the key thing is get on the journey, have a strategy, start the ball rolling, and start making use of this technology that's available now.
Yeah, so true. And just coming on to those real world problems, I mean, do you have any examples that you could reference that we're seeing in businesses today where AI is solving those issues?
I think the areas that are really interesting for me, we've kind of talked about 4 different areas today. It's the business process and business transformation. So business process, AI is relevant for any well-defined business process that you've got a bit of structure around. And the key for me is really just taking a look at all of the practical things that you're doing in a business and just saying, right, could we just slot in a bit of AI, a bit of a power up, a bit of power out, a bit of something that just helps that process go along? So the list of possibilities is huge. Everything from, as we've seen today, taking images and processing those, or having a bit of a chat about your documentation, to just helping just automate little bits of that process. So that side, where you've got a well-defined process, great, let's build around that, add the AI in. Transformation is the really cool bit. This is where, I think most of us are getting excited. And again, it's there where you've made the investment into data. You've got your structured or your unstructured data sets, and you're thinking about how can my business be better there. And again, it's really, it's hard to say what the use case is without sitting in the CTO or the COO or the CEO's shoes, looking at that business from the top down. But for anyone that's invested in data and has well-structured data sets, structured or unstructured, they should be really thinking about how do we use that using AI? How do we join the two things up to get extra value out of it? You're already making data-led decisions, hopefully. So now it's, right, how do we actually make AI come to life through that data? So yeah, again, we've seen some great examples with Tom and Public View of how we've taken that structured data and come out with really cool, compelling reports, and the way that we can take that data and make sure that the accuracy is always there. And for me, it's right. Everyone look at their data sets, look at what they're doing. How can we do the same kind of thing to transform and take that data into a bit of generative AI and do something really useful with it? So yeah,
super interesting. Well, I guess another question that we're seeing regularly asked, and maybe this is something for you, Andy, is, they're worried about the investment. There's a lot of talk about costs, and why don't you share a little insight in terms of what we at BCN are doing to help businesses on that AI journey?
Sure. Well, like we've seen today, AI means a load of different things. Not all AIs are equal. We've got chatbots and large language models and all kinds of different AI that we can kind of play with and implement. So it's really interesting, like Mike was saying, to understand what opportunities are in your business, and then we can look at what we've got to kind of support that and enhance it. So we have some Kickstarter AI products where we can come in and within just a couple of days implement a chatbot where we point that chatbot at some data sets and allow you to interact with it in a more natural language, a bit like we saw in some of the demos earlier. If there is a business process, then we can put an automation on it with AI reading from documents or generating information. And, because AI kind of happens in the cloud and it's kind of faceless, we can put some really simple template applications on top of it so you can still interact and still have control of your data, but there's those efficiencies that the AI can bring. So we've got different options in what we can do depending on what your business is, what your needs are, to kind of see what's going to work best for you. But they're all really quick, easy to implement. I think other than that, the quickest and best way is the things that Johan was showing us with Copilot and 365 Copilot, and just getting a license, sharing it around, letting people play with it, see the benefits that bring, because that in itself can be quite transformative. So there's lots of options on how to kind of play with it and test it and see what works for you and what doesn't and what you kind of want to grow. It's just understanding which bit would fit your business and your model best, but lots of options.
Great. I mean, that's refreshing to hear, because typically, as we know, with most IT and technology projects, they're typically long-winded and take a long time to implement. And I guess, Mark, another objection we often see is business owners saying, well, our business is successful, it's working as it should, why would I need AI? What would your message be to those owners out there?
Yeah, so I think, as I kind of drew out on the chart earlier, the two words I'd use are disruption and innovation. Yeah, so this technology here is really accessible. You can use it for free, you can pay for a license, you can look at your business process and really transform your business. There's lots of options there. If you're doing none of that, what are your competitors doing? Because they won't be standing still. They'll be looking at you saying, you're doing really well. How do I get ahead of the pack? So again, it's very similar to the security story. Security never stops. And from my perspective, innovation doesn't stop, because if you do stop, you'll be disrupted. So it's key to look around. Yeah, timing is important. Yeah, you don't want to invest in a massive AI application if the AI is not ready. Yeah, you've got to time your entry point. What we've seen today is a lot of stuff. This stuff is mature. It's ready for the prime time. So be disrupted or innovate your way out of it, one or the other. I wouldn't want to stand still and ignore it.
Yeah, valid point. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. I think it was really great to see how technology is progressing and how businesses can take advantage of it. If you'd like to know more about BCN, what we do and what we're about, please feel free to visit our website, www.bcn.co.uk. There you'll find a wealth of information about AI, data, and the many other services that we provide. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time.